G'day guys, Ben from Kayak here to bring you another video. This one is going to be doing a product review of the Emergency Solutions First Aid Kit. One thing that I really like to do before I even look at purchasing a kit is that I'll basically do a risk analysis of the top things that I think might happen, and I suppose what are the implications of those things. So for example, kayak fishing, you might think of stuff like cold injury, which is actually quite a big thing and does kill quite a few kayakers each year. That is that if our body temperature drops right down, we can die from hypothermia. Heat injury is a bit of an issue in Australia as well. If people don't hydrate adequately, body temperature can rise above about 41 degrees centigrade. That can also become a medical emergency if it's not treated quickly. Other things we need to be cautious of, probably the things like bites, stings, shark attack obviously. So what I do is I write down a big long list of all the things that I think might happen, and I write next to that the what are the consequences if that, for example, happens. So for example, shark attack, high consequence. Then I put down a column which is probability. So shark attack, for example, probability is very low because we've only ever had one recorded shark attack fatality against a kayaker in Australia. So I'll put a link up to that if you like in the description. But that's obviously quite a big thing. So probability low, consequences very high. Other things that are probably more probable would be things like coming across a car accident, or an accident, for example, a car reversing out onto you, which could happen in a parking lot when you're trying to unload your gear. And if you're ducking down or something, people might not see you, so there might be a bit of an accident in a car park. That kind of stuff. So probabilities is actually higher, consequences can also be higher. So for example, if you think that as a person standing up, and if they get bumped by a car, it usually happens mid-thigh for an adult, or towards the chest for a child. So consequences there could be things like fractures and so on, and that can be quite serious. So so we've got probability, or we've got what the actual issue might be versus probability versus consequence, and then start thinking about what could happen. For example, so we've got car accident, probability fairly high, consequences fairly high, and then the injuries that may occur from that versus what we can do about it as a first aider. At the end of the day, we're not there as medical professionals. We're not paid to be there for that kind of stuff. So the treatment we give is really out of our humanitarian goodwill. And this is the kit that I keep in my car, and we're just going to do a bit of a product review of this today. So let's take a look. So as you can see, it's not a monstrous kit. This is really designed, and this is the new one that's come out. As you can see, it's all color coded, so it's actually a lot easier to find the stuff that you're looking for. I've added a couple of little bits into it, but it's pretty good. So let's take a bit of a look at it. As I say, it's not monstrous in size. I've added the first aid resuscitation shield to the outside, as well as a small Princeton Tech Blast torch. Okay, so those are things that I might need in a hurry, so I've got to be able to find those pretty easily. One thing that's relatively unique to this particular kit is that the way it folds out is quite good. So this is more the first aid side of the house, and this actually can zip right off if we needed to, and you can then attach that to the rear of the kit if you so choose to. Depends on how you want to set up your kit to suit your needs. So let's look at this kit. I've researched a lot of kits over the last 6 months. What I did is I looked in my car and I realised my kit was actually quite old, and it really did need to get replaced. The kit itself was becoming a bit tatty, but some of the stitching was starting to come undone. So I thought, oh, I've really got to replace this. So this is the kit that I found. It works really well. I personally come from a background of having done a lot of pre-hospital care. I've got a lot of qualifications in that field. I've worked roughly now about 13 years in pre-hospital and primary health care roles, so my personal background is quite strong in that field. However, obviously my children and my wife don't have that kind of skills and background, so I need a kit that can suit their needs as well. So in terms of the first aid stuff, which is this panel, we've got a small range of basic stuff really. So this covers a first aid booklet. There's also some splinter probes, which can also be useful for getting out ticks, some antiseptic gel, some scissors, some tweezers, that kind of stuff, some band-aids and adhesive antibacterial wipes and that kind of stuff. So those are all quite good, quite useful. In this section here, which is I guess more of an infection control section, we've got stuff like gloves, which are really important because I don't want to risk transferring any kind of bacteria which is on my hands onto a patient, and I really don't want anything that they've got onto me. So gloves are really important. We've got an emergency blanket here. So obviously patients that have been involved in a more serious incident, even if they haven't necessarily been physically injured, they can often become mentally impacted by what's happened. So a blanket itself is a really useful thing to have. Here we've got some burn sachets, which are really useful. Skin cleansing wipes. There's a plastic rubbish bag, that kind of stuff. So there's some really useful stuff in here. Moving on now to this is all the wound care side. Now I've added a roll of Coban, which is cohesive bandage, which is a really useful thing, and I've also added some eye wash as well. So again, if you think about relating this kit to a kayaking scenario, a lot of the stuff that we do, because we're likely to be wet when we come out of the water, a lot of these sort of traditional band-aids and that kind of stuff are not going to adhere very well to our skin. So you do need to think about that and how I can address that issue. So for example, if you've been speared by the gaff or something, or you've got a really good hook injury, how can I treat that moving away from some of the band-aids and that kind of stuff? And I found things like Coban to be really useful. Eye stream might be necessary because if you've got someone gets a bit of sand or grit or that kind of stuff in their eye, it's really useful to be able to wash it out. There's a range of bandages and stuff like that here, and traditional wound dressings as well. That's all quite useful. Again, with the colour coding, it would help people who may not necessarily have a stronger background as myself. Eye pads, wound closures, wound dressings, combine dressings and that kind of stuff as well, or in that little area there, which is again quite useful. The other thing that I've added is this is a tourniquet. So tourniquets are obviously quite useful in the event of if someone has received a decent shark attack, then you're going to need some kind of an arterial tourniquet. Contrary to popular belief, tourniquets are absolutely useful in Australia, and the governing body, which is the Australian Resuscitation Council, ARC, does recommend them in their guidelines. They recommend the use of a tourniquet for extenuating bleeding, and I'd far rather use a purpose-designed tourniquet than a tourniquet which has been improvised, simply because a purpose-designed tourniquet is going to do the job a lot better and a lot more efficiently than something I've tried to make up on the spot. And I may not have the things on the spot to be able to improvise to do that. You only have a very short period of time, if someone does have a genuine arterial bleed, to apply a tourniquet to address that injury. Otherwise the victim itself may well expire and die. So tourniquets can be very useful. But ultimately we need to get the person out of the water, onto the beach, and start treating them effectively there. So this kit as an in-car first aid kit, I take this kit camping, I take it when we go on drives and all that kind of stuff. It tends to live in the car, and it's a very easy to use kit. I like it a lot. In terms of cost, the price these tend to be going for varies from about $80 to $120 Australian, and you can pick them up online or in a range of stores. Point to note here is that the kit has been redesigned for 2015, so just make sure you're getting the most up-to-date one, otherwise you may end up getting stuff that's expired and being sold on the cheap. And there's also some imitation kits being sold, so just be aware of that. In terms of how do I rate this kit out of 10, in terms of a first aid kit, I actually rate this as an 8 out of 10, only because I think it's possibly a little bit more expensive than it needs to be, but I do like how everything's color coded and also labeled, so it's very easy to find the stuff that you like. So I really hope this has helped you guys. I do recommend carrying a decent first aid kit in your car, because you are going to come across stuff from time to time, and it's really good, I think, to be able to do something about it when something does happen. So very much recommend this kit, guys. Don't forget, having a kit doesn't really negate the fact that you need to have the skills. Having a kit's all well and good, but if you don't know how to use it, you could actually hurt someone more than they otherwise need to be. So get onto a first aid course and pick up some qualifications and remain current. It's not that expensive, and when you think that the skills you learn in a first aid course could well and truly end up saving someone's life, that $50, $100, whatever it might be, is well worth money spent. So thanks a lot, guys. Well, thanks for watching. I'm going to be building my YouTube channel with an average of 2 videos per week, eventually covering all sorts of topics on kayak fishing, from reviews of gear, reviews of kayaks, location reports, even hook and cook type ideas for you. I'm looking forward to any comments or suggestions you might have. Please leave a comment below, or you can message me directly through YouTube. If you liked the video, please like it. Please feel free to share this video on other social media such as Facebook or Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Until next time, tight lines and stay safe.